So I tried not to really look at the previews too much because I don't want to spoil my experience. So I try not to too much look at the previews of what's going to come before I actually watch my show because I don't want to spoil the experience. But nobody else seems to do that. So everybody was all up in arms and they were really waiting to be crying and having a fit and all of this. And I kind of looked and we knew there was going to be something that had to do with Pray Tell and Pray Tell's health. So we were all prepared for the worst. Ryan Murphy got us all. He got us all. It was just very interesting. It's a very interesting episode and an episode that you need to pay a lot of attention to. But not the tear jerking that you thought was going to happen. So, very good on Ryan's part. As usual. Love him. Anyway, let's talk about... And I'm like, come on through, Cookie. I'm going up on my soapbox. That's basically it. Let's talk about drag and all its forms. What, Cookie? Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. This is my review for Pose. This is season 2. This is episode 6. As I said, we were all geared up to be enraged and falling out crying again and carrying on, and it wasn't that at all. It was really thought-provoking, and it was a side of the actual disease that we need to see. You need to see it. You hate to see it all the time from week to week, but you need to see it. You need to understand that no, HIV is not a death sentence any longer, but there are ups and there are downs to it. So you need to see that. You need to understand it. Okay? It's not a cakewalk. It's definitely not a cakewalk. It's just not as bad as what it used to be, but it's not a cakewalk. So be mindful of that. Let's go. Let's talk about this. So we're at a ball when we start in. And they're doing their thing, and Pray Tell, you could tell something was going on with Pray. He was kind of like going in and out, and the lights were really kind of bothering him. He was sweating real heavy, really sweating profusely. And Blanca was kind of noticing something wasn't too right with him, and then he ended up passing out. So what it was, the AZT is actually not working for him. It's not working for him. It was poisoning his system. He was getting some internal bleeding and this kind of thing, and it just was bad. It was just bad overall. And they explain that it doesn't work for everybody. Some people it really damaged, and some people, like Blanca. Blanca looks great. And, it's really helping with her stuff, but it just did the opposite with Pray Tell. Now, once he was at the hospital, again, we get to see the difference between people and them as it pertains to them being patients. Where Pray Tell is usually the one that's always together and always so pulled up. Pray Tell is a horrible patient. Horrible patient. And he wants to throw a temper tantrum. And he wants to be left to do that. So he's telling Judy and Nurse Judy and Blanca to get out and all of this. And he's just being a terrible patient. But, again, that's his Pennsylvania privilege. So they gave him his room and they let him carry on and be that queen that he wanted to be. So a little bit after that, we see this roommate that comes in, and then it's showing again. I said, Ryan Murphy, and he's showing again the difference in us as gay individuals and that separation. I talk to you all about the separation all the time. How no matter how it goes down with the heterosexual community and the LGBTQ community, I've always said you all can never hurt us the way that we hurt each other. You all can never get under our skin the way that we get underneath each other's skin. The division within the community is far greater than the division between the so-called regular folks and us, okay? Pray Tell gets this roommate. And Pray's being Pray, you know, Pray is feeling a little better, so he's kind of upbeat, and he's, you know, talking, and this guy comes in, he's coughing and carrying on, and he says, you know, his attitude was down. His temper tantrum was even worse than Pray's, okay? And Pray's like, child, so what's going on? He's like, hi, I'm Pray. And he's like, yeah, pneumonia. I have pneumonia. He's like, oh, okay. You know, tells him, you know, what's going on and what his little situation was, that his platelets were off and whatnot. And that's as far as their conversation got. Because Pray Tell's being Pray Tell, very flippant. He's like, ciao. And he said, you know, he's like, I'm like some kind of queen, he said. And he says, the guy says something about what he does, and he says, oh, so you're one of those queens. He's like, I'm not a queen at all. I'm a college-educated man. Yeah, okay, girl. And I mean, he had his whole, you know, because Pray Tell said something about the balls, because he said, I think I know you. And he says, no, you don't know me. He says, do you go to the balls? He's going to say, oh, heavens no. Heavens no. I am a college-educated man. And I said, so there we go. There's that division I've been telling y'all about. The ballroom kids and drag are, yes, very much at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to our community. It just is what it is. And he was done, really. Like, he didn't even want to talk to Pray too much after that. And then, a little bit after that, he ended up having a heart attack. And the very person who he thought he was too good to be sitting in there talking to was the one who had to call the nurses and Pray Tell was having a fit. Tell them, no, y'all are hurting him. Why are you doing it like that? You know, it's that whole thing. So the whole time, and that is so indicative of how things really go as pertains to the gays at times. The very ones who you feel as though you're better than are the ones that make it happen, the ones that get it popping. You know what I mean? All of these gay rights and all these things, child, the movements were drag queens and lesbians and trans people. They are the big mouths. They are the risk takers. And that's just the truth. That is just the truth. It's the bottom of the barrel are the ones that have been the mouthpieces. They are the ones who have been the money raisers. They are the ones who have gotten things moving. Awareness, funding, research, all of this stuff that has to do with why we are where we are with HIV and HIV prevention and HIV awareness. It's those very people that the rest of the community kind of look down upon. They're the ones that get the ball rolling. Anyway, and that's the truth. Period. And that's the way it's been. Nobody ever said life was fair. That's just the way it's been. So, I'm sure that's what this was all about. And I was like very happy that Ryan showed it. I was like, Mr. College Educated, sit your ass down. And he sat right over there, and his college educated ass went into a cardiac arrest and tiptoed right the hell on out of here. And the only person that was even worried about you was that same person that you thought you were too good to even talk to. Shame on your ass. Anyway, so in the midst of all that, they sedated Prey because he was so upset. They sedated him, and this is what started us into this whole thing that was going to go on in this episode. So once that happened, we're showing the ups and the downs of the disease. And Prey is now faced with his immortality, okay? So as he goes into this induced slumber, he literally he's sitting, there's all these flowers, like he wakes up, there's all these flowers, and he's like, okay, and then he's reading the little slips, and it's saying, hey bitch, this, that, thing, and the other, and why are you taking so long to die and come join me, bitch? And it's Miss Candy. And I said, Lord have mercy, child. Now she is haunting him in his subconscious. But she told you she was going to do it. So I said, Lord have mercy. I was like, all right. So, I've been like really flustered. I'm like, oh, Miss Candy so much. And so I'm like, okay. So I'm like waiting on this part where there's the curtain up between Pray Tell and the roommate. And I'm like, I said, this is just going to take him out when he sees this man over there. I don't know if he was going to see the man dead over there or actually see the man gone. Because they sedated him, so he didn't really get to see the fallout of all what was going on. And baby, he pulls that curtain back, and baby, I just went to screaming. I went to scream. I said, oh, Miss Candy! Baby Miss Candy was sitting on the bed clean as hell. I said, there she goes, honey. There she goes. Baby Miss Candy was sitting there perched and poodled, honey. I said, yes, Miss Candy. She was sitting over there, baby, and she's like, hey, bitch. Said, oh, Miss Candy. What is it now, Miss Candy? I said, oh, my God. I was so happy to see her. So she was there. I was so happy to see Miss Candy. Look, I was so happy to see Miss Candy. And then she's like, she started her bullshit. I was like, girl, what you get ready to do, Miss Candy? She told him, honey, I'm your angel of mercy. And then she starts trying to walk Prey down this road of suicide as an easy get out. And he's like, listening to her, and she's like, child, you got the good pills, bitch. And she's going through all of this, and she's like, yeah, child, I'm always visit you, honey, and I'm going to help you because this is what I'm doing. She's like, telling about all this fabulous stuff that she's doing and how she is hanging out with all these people who have died and just all of them have died of AIDS complications. And Prey is like, wait a minute, so you are hanging out with all these people who died of AIDS? And she's like, yeah, bitch. She's like, that's my heaven. You make your own, girl. And she's like, and the thing is, I'm amongst good company. It is what it is. It makes sense. And so he's like, what do you mean? What do you mean it makes sense? And then that's what she exposes to him, that she actually did have AIDS and that she just didn't tell anybody. She had never told anybody, and that whenever she did deal with her tricks, that she always used condoms and all that. She was always very safe toward the condoms because she said, I didn't want to hurt nobody, this, that, the other. But again, her whole point was there to, like she said, I'm your angel of mercy. And she's presenting herself. She's presenting suicide. And Pray Tell told her, no, baby. I smacked her hand, made all the pills fall out on the floor, and I was like, good. Very, very good. I was like, no, Miss Candy, girl, you're going to make us not like you, girl. You're doing this kind of stuff. So then we go, and then Pray Tell is visited by his stepfather. And we get a little bit of this backstory where the stepfather literally seduced and carried on a whole basic relationship with a 12-year-old Pray Tell. And he said how he basically swindled his mother. His mother was this lonely, desperate, single woman who fell in love with this man, and he literally manipulated her into marrying him and was having her son the whole time and molesting the son. And what he was doing was manipulating Pray Tell and telling Pray Tell, you seduced me. And then as he continued on, you figured out that even after Pray Tell got older and Pray's mother had passed on and all of that kind of stuff, that the man and him would kind of go at it, and he would see the man out and around, they would like go at it and everything. And he was saying how the only time we didn't argue was when you came to my funeral. Was the only time you were quiet because you were satisfied. And he told him, I forgave you. I forgave you not for you. I forgave you for me. I forgave you for me. And I was like, wow, that was a whole tangled. He's a vicious man. Vicious to manipulate the mother to get at the son and then make the son believe that he was the one who caused all of that. A mess. A complete predator. Anyway, moving on. Next, he ends up being visited by his ex that he was so in love with. And thus the ex had taken him to the cabaret because he was actually planning this AIDS cabaret. You remember the AIDS cabaret from season 1. And this is the second annual, and he escorted him to the AIDS cabaret, and he stood there in the doorway, and you see Pray go down the hallway, and he's dressed in all silver, and he has all his stuff on, only the way that Billy Porter could do it, and he sings the hell out of this song, this whole show tune, and yeah. And he gave a performance for all of the friends that he had who had actually passed on. They were all there. And it was kind of, now this I said, okay, this is very Ryan Murphy. This was very Ryan Murphy because they had them all done like the way that he saw them right before they went to the funeral. So when they were at their lowest points, pretty much before they got bedridden. So it was very, it gave you it's that very dark side of Ryan Murphy. So you're seeing the actual, he demonized the virus is what he did. He demonized the virus, and he just let you know how devastating that it was. Instead of us getting to see the friends sitting around looking nice. They had sores and they were, they had lesions and all of that. He demonized the virus is what he did. And I understand why he did it. I understand the message that he was putting out for why he did it. But so we had that whole scene. Then we go to the house. Blanca is at the house. She's trying to get everything together really in real time. Trying to get everything together for this cabaret. Because she says, don't worry about it, Pray. We're going to make sure everything is everything. And of course, she's going through the things that Pray would have to go through, and probably even more elevated because it's not Pray make a phone call, so people aren't coming through. And they're not, agreeing to perform and different things like that. And then she has this whole thing where she is feeling guilty about the whole point that Pray Tell got sick because it was her pushing him to start taking the AZT. So she's feeling guilty and all of this, and she was yelling again. It was that displaced anger, and she was yelling at the kids of Evangelista, and Angel put all the boys out, and then she just, loved on her and was like, "You're doing fine. I'll help you. Simmer down. Get your shit together. We're gonna be okay." So they took care of that. Then right after that, Blanca goes to see Prey, and they actually have the conversation. And he lets her know, "Yes, I am mad at you, bitch. I'm mad at you." And she's like, "Okay, that's fine. I'll let you be mad at me, but nobody cares. Get up, get dressed. There's people here. Everything's going down. I've gotten everything together, and it's going to be what it's going to be. And you need to stop being a bitch and let's go." He told her, "Fuck you." She said, "No, fuck you." And they went on, and she said, "Now get dressed and put on that damn cologne so you can smell like a French whore like you usually do." I said, "Well, all right." So, the only conversation that true live friends who love each other could have. Fuck you, bitch. Put on that shit, smell like a French whore, you bitch. And I'll see you in 10 minutes. So it was like that. At the same time, Blanca had this running with the woman that's her Patty LaPone, who was actually her landlord, Frederica. And she's like, "I'm going to come to you." Because first she was talking about putting the little AIDS benefit flyer up. She was like, "Child, don't make people run away from your shop, honey. They'll be thinking that something's wrong with you in this shop, honey. And, just being ignorant." She's like, "I'm going to come to your little event." I thought that was really strange. And she said, "Here, I'm going to make a donation." So she gives her $20. Then she says, "Take the 20 back," and said, "You know what? I'll just give a donation myself. Maybe I'll sing a little something when I come down there." Just being ridiculous. So I was like, okay, Lord have mercy. So at this time, then Nurse Judy basically shows up. We're at the cabaret now. Nurse Judy shows up. Baby, Nurse Judy was clean, baby, and her green, she had on this emerald green sequin number. I said, "Come on, drag queen." And she was all done up, had her hair in a little updo, and she looked real pretty. She really did. I said, "Well, go ahead, girl." It was good. It was good. So we end up having this really nice ballad by Nurse Judy. And she actually had Ricky and Damon and Lulu backing her up. It was really nice, really sad, but it was really good. It was really, really good. She, child, we know our girl gets down, honey. So, and that's the thing, everybody here is like triple threats for the most part. Everybody in the cast, for the most part, can dance, sing, and act. So, they're doing their thing. Judy does her number. Blanca then brings up Frederica, whatever her name is, the landlady, and she completely turns the whole thing out. Miss Patty LaPone just turned it. She turned it. You hear me? She did it down. And got a standing note, and she gave a little speech, about some different things, and people were looking at her like she was crazy at first. She's like, "Oh, yes, my good girlfriend, Blanca." And Blanca's like, "Good girlfriend? Yeah, right, bitch is crazy." But she went to talking, and her whole thing had actually changed. Like, she had changed. Like, it was like totally different. And I was like, wow. But it does happen. Sometimes when people are faced with what it actually is, then they get to see, and it's not just sometimes, most times, they get to see that you are very much not that different. Your immortality is the same as our immortality. Your immortality is the same as a person who is full-blown AIDS. Even when you are a person that ain't nothing wrong with you at all. You are just a human in general. And just like it got them, it could get you. You know what I mean? And so that's the thing. And I think, I was like, well, she's had a whole turn in the road with the way she's thinking about things. So then they did a little intermission. And she says, I'm not leaving. I got a big phone call. And I don't want to miss the rest of the performances. Because she ended up giving a bigger, I think she gave like $100 or whatever. But they actually had ended up raising like $4,000 total. So she goes out into the hallway and she's making a phone call. Baby, listen to me. This little whore, dirty whore, was in the midst of having the shop completely boarded up, having the locks changed, and all of that. And I remember earlier on the thing that she said, and when she said it, it stood out to me, but I didn't say anything, but I wrote it in my notes. I did. I wrote it in my notes because it stood out when Patti LuPone said it. Blanca said, I'm sorry I didn't give you more credit. I'm sorry I misjudged you. And she said, never underestimate a New Yorker. And I don't know why. I really don't, you guys. I don't know why. When she said that, I wrote that down. And that's nothing against New Yorkers. I love New York people. But something in me made me write that down. And I wrote that down in my notes. And sure enough, it came full circle. Yeah, never underestimate a New Yorker. Because as far as back then, and the business practices and all that we've known of her, she has been a swindler. She has been double-faced and shady. And this was no different. She was being shady as hell. So she was doing her thing. We go back. Electra performed next, baby. They shaded the hell out of Electra's vocals. That was funny. And then Blanca took to the stage and she admitted publicly for the first time that she is a woman who is living with the virus. And then Blanca starts singing Love Is In Need, Stevie Wonder song. And then Pray Tell shows up looking all nice. And then they ended up coming up and they did it together. So yet again, you all remember when they did Home last season. This was just as good. Pray Tell and Blanca, MJ, and Billy Porter delivered like an awesome performance of Love's in Need. It was really good. And then that damn landlady of Blanca's, she's like, oh, let me take you out for dessert. I can't believe you put this whole concert together by yourself. Let's go talk some business woman to woman, this, that, and the other. And this was just holding her up because she knew that the boys weren't done boarding up the place. So later on that day, she figured it out. She figured it out. The day it boarded up, she was like, that bitch. So the next thing we see is that Blanca has now gotten pissed. She is actually taken and filed paperwork to sue her. She's going to sue her and all of this. And they did a protest down in front of the shop, and like 50 people from the ballroom showed up, and they were all out there. They're giving that. She's a crook. She's a crook. She's a crook. And you see her and her son drive by. Now, here we go again. I wrote this down in my notes. I'm like, what is this going to mean? Because now I think things may get underhanded and dangerous when Blanca starts trying to go at her. You know, it's going to be hard, the whole court thing and her being trans. But the bad publicity in general is not good for Frederica. I think that's her name. So I don't know if she's going to try to do something to Blanca. I don't know. That's worrying me. But I'll worry about that as we go forward. But that, I wrote that down because that worries me. But we'll see. Okay, so let's go to the last thing because I'm just babbling and talking here. Okay, so Pray Tell's home. And Pray get ready for bed and stuff. And then here she goes again. Miss Candy shows up, and he's giving her, what is it now, Miss Candy? What is it now? And she tells him, she says, well, you didn't take my invitation. And I'm going to keep on haunting you until you accept my invitation to just easily just sleep away and just leave this alone and come on to the other side with me. And he told her, you go right ahead, bitch. You keep right on haunting me because it is not my time. It is not my time. And I was like, oof. This was deep. It was deep for me on some different levels because, again, when you have actually stared death into the face and said, I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that. I'm going to fight to stay. Stuff like this kind of does get me in a place that I'm like, been there, done that. But never, I never, when I went through my little cancer battle and that, I never thought about just like, never a suicide, thing. But I definitely had moments where I said, well, it would just be so much easier to just lay down and just leave this alone. You know what I mean? And that was really my reality, that I knew if I just laid down and just let go of this and just said, the hell with this, I don't want to do it, and don't want to do right with the medicine, and don't want to do with the chemo, and all, I could just lay down and just let this go and be done with this. And I knew that was one option, and then there was the other option, which was the best option, was to live. And that's what I said. Every time when I see stuff like this, where the option is there, and it's when people, because all they're doing is depicting somebody having their private time. This is your own mental private time, and they've just dramatized it for you. And it's deep, when you make that choice and you say, not me, bitch. I don't know about nobody else. And that was truly my thing. Me and cancer, not for one moment. I said, I could very well go over there and just lay down and be done with it and don't got to worry about nothing no more. Or do you? Or I could finish what it is that I'm doing, and that's it. Because I got a whole lot of stuff that I'm trying to do. Y'all see that day to day. That I'm trying to do all kind of stuff. All kind of things that I didn't think I could do, or people told me I couldn't do. I got all that stuff that I got to get done. So no, not me. I'm not going to lay down here and let the big C win. I was like, fuck the big C, honey. I ain't doing it. And I got to fight. And so this was deep for me. And like I said, I didn't do all that crying that I usually do, but it was very thought-provoking. A lot of the things that were discussed here. The whole division of the LGBTQ, the whole fighting to stay alive, the situation of, pray tell, wanting to have the temper tantrum and all of that, and then the dirty, rotten landlord whore who pulled the stunt, and then how dirty of a person are you? So, do we not believe anything that you said? Like, were your feelings toward the disease and all of that stuff, that was all just a farce, and the money you gave and all that was all just to distract her while you shut the shop down? How evil of a person are you really, lady? Anyway, so this, like I said, this was good. This was good. This was good. Anyway, that was Pose, Season 2, Episode 6. We'll do this. Come on back. Come on back and see me again in a week. And we will do this all over again. All over again. For those of you, I know I have a lot of folks who actually do watch this review. Listen, I'm getting ready to invade the DMV area. Going to invade the DMV area. Be looking out for a live from me. I will be doing a meet and greet in Maryland. So, I will be coming live sometime tomorrow, and I'll be giving you all the details. But yes, Spillitboy TV is going to invade the DMV yet again. Coming to see my DC people and my Maryland and my Virginia people. I'm coming. I am coming. All right, you guys. Later.